Hi everyone, welcome to our second podcast. My name is Xiuwen. Joining me is Jiachen, and we are your hosts for this episode. The title for this episode is Diverting from an Engineering Career. What we mean is this person who has completed engineering at any level but has gone into specializing into non-engineering fields such as consulting, management, auditing, etc.
To fit this description of the event, we have invited two guests. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ivan and Mr. Aaron Chan.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you.
Hi, Mr.
Hello,
Ivan.
everybody.
Hi, Aaron. All right.
Hello.
Hello. Uh, Unfortunately, Mr. Ivan is in traffic right now, so he'll be talking through us through mobile. So we hope you guys uh kind of feel the. Okay, sorry. Okay, introductions aside, Mr. Ivan is a Monash alumnus from the School of Chemical Engineering. During his student journey, Mr. Ivan has competed in several business-related competitions while taking up a degree in engineering in Monash. Most notably is being a national finalist in the Maybank Go Ahead Challenge 2017 and also being one of the top 5 finalists in the Unilever's Future Leaders League. He is now currently working as a risk assurance consultant at PwC Malaysia. Now, on to Mr. Aaron. Mr. Aaron has completed his bachelor's and master's degree in chemical engineering at University Science Malaysia. He has maintained an engineering background for 3 years before transitioning to human capital management. Currently, he is a senior human capital manager at Sunway Medical Center. With introductions aside, we'll start off with our discussion. I'll now pass the floor back to Siwan.
Okay, so we are gonna start with easy question. So because most of us are from engineering background, so even though we know your role is maybe like risk assurance, HR, but we don't really know what is the job scope of all these roles, like what's your daily task and so on. So we would like to know more about that. So perhaps we start with Aaron.
Uh, HR looks at the different aspects of humans. Okay, That's why I call human resources. So there are many branches in human resources, but the usual branch is compensation and benefits, payroll, learning and development, talent management, organizational development. So these are some of the branches of HR. So I look after learning and development in my organization. So learning and development is training. How do you develop the talents? How do you develop your staff, ensuring that they know what they are doing in their workplace, etc., etc. So that's basically my role in the hospital. But there are also different type of HR professionals who do different things. So like compensation and benefits looks at your pay, bonuses, your benefits in the organization. They will look at strategic needs for the organization. Then you have also industrial relations. Staff also will have discipline issues. So you need somebody to make sure that they understand what are the policies and procedures of the organization. And then you have also recruitment, which is a very large group as well, and getting people into the organization. So yeah, so basically that's HR in general. Yeah.
Oh, I initially always thought like HR, their main role is to hire people to find talent. So
Oh.
this
Yeah,
kind of
you are not the first one to tell me that, because most people who look at HR will think that it's only hiring, firing, and and how much are you going to pay me? Then it's the person who does your payroll. Some organizations like small SMEs, they usually don't have a large HR team. So the basic HR team will definitely be doing more hiring and also your pay, your salary. Yeah, but when you are in an organization that is large, like Sunway, then you have other branches of HR as well. Yeah,
I
Okay.
see.
yeah, yeah.
Something new to learn. How about Ivan? Like what do risk assurance exactly mean?
Hello
What
everyone. Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
hi.
can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Very clear.
All right. First and foremost, apologies to everyone that I can't on my video cam. Okay. But I'll be speaking via the microphone. So a bit of a background of what do I do from my day-to-day job is my department is called RPGC, Risk, Privacy, Control, and Governance. So basically, what do I look at is I look at the control and governance in organizations ranging from banks to conglomerates to IT services to government bodies. So what I look at is I look at the control and governance
Um,
are they risk proof or are there any symptoms of risk all right. And with that being said, how will I be able to advise the client to implement relevant um, controls and processes to mitigate all these risks? So if to share further, for instance, the MACC Malaysia Anti-Corruption MACC, yeah. So they have recently implemented the Section 17, okay, which is really related to corruption as a whole. You all can read up a bit. So that will, for instances, banks and public listed companies in KLCI, and then they'll be like, okay, so what are the process and controls that I need to put in place to mitigate all this potential fraud that may happen, and also to prevent all the board of directors or the management to be faulted and charged in a court and in fact to pay the fine and even sent to the jail. So yeah, these are the things that I look at, and my jobs require me to go down to the client, have conversations, walkthroughs, and yeah, there's quite a lot of communication and
Oh, that's very different from engineering. I think this is my first time hearing a job doing this because yeah, it's quite new to me. So it's more towards business, is it? Like you're advising business model.
hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Uh, yep.
Ivan, are you there?
Sorry, Sime, you were breaking just now. Siwen.
Yes. So I'm just clarifying. So it's more like you're advising like the business model. So like you need to know a bit about law, business, and finance as well.
Yes, it's a mix of everything. You're right.
Oh, okay. Then actually I guess all engineering students they'll always hear this hearing that most of us who graduate from an engineering degree will actually divert from engineering and go into something else, like what you both of you did. Do you think it's true? Like there will be a lot of people that go out of engineering. Maybe I.
Hi, okay. Siwen, thanks for the question. I think this statement is not entirely true. Cause for instances, for what I do in for my department, I have students ranging from business background, from ACCA, ICAW, and in fact, a music degree background. I think in today's world, 21st century, in today's world, I think degree is just a how do I call it? A degree is just a passport to the working world. Okay, and I cannot say agree or disagree. I would just okay maybe I would just say I'll stay neutral on that point. Yeah, that's my take on it. Yep.
How about Aaron? What do you think about it?
Uh, Out of the 90 classmates that I have in my engineering degree, I think there are only three of us who really divert away from engineering as our career. Most of my classmates, or at least the people that I have been still keeping in touch after all these years, they are successful engineers in their field, in their companies as well. Perhaps some, after a while, they take up more management roles, but they are still in an engineering firm, very much doing. I mean, their technical skills of needed in the engineering facet of it. But yeah, there's only three of us who decided that we didn't want to pursue engineering for life, I guess. Yeah, so I think that notion of most engineers will then divert into other things. I maybe not also, but I agree what Ivan said. I think degree is just a stepping stone for something. Yeah, so I have an engineering friend who is now a banker. So it's like,
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, you can go from engineering to banker because I initially thought then you need some certification to go into it. So since we are speaking about diverting, so we are also quite curious what has prompted two of you to make the decision to go out of engineering and enter a new field that you have not gone into during your university life. Maybe Aaron?
Okay. So when I first started my career as an engineer, I was working for a water treatment plant. So I was a process engineer, and at time my plant manager was one day just asking me saying that, hey, would you like to do something for our interns in our organization? Because our interns come, they sometimes hang around, they don't do anything, and they don't learn anything. So we don't want them to feel that they have wasted time. We want to add value into their experience with us in the company. And so, my plant manager was saying that, hey, Aaron, you are almost the same age as interns. You're almost the same age. Or maybe
Oh,
you know what they need. Maybe you understand what they need. Yeah. So can you do something? Can you come up with a program and work with the students with this? And so I took up the challenge, and I did a little short program for our interns, which after that a few batches of interns went through the same program, and that started piqued my interest in this field called learning and development training. Yeah,
ah,
and from there, I happened to one day meet the training manager of the company, and she, we were talking, and she's asking me, where do you see yourself going after 5 years, 6 years? And I said, I I I don't think I have the same energy as my plant manager. I don't feel like I can see myself 20 years down the road. I'm so excited to be an engineer. Then she asked, so what is it that you want to do? So I said, well, recently, I've been doing this. I feel very engaged. I feel very motivated. And so she said, well, the company is big enough. Why not you try? Yeah, so that was how it all started. So I had an interview with the HR director, and I also thank him for taking the chance. And also taking the chance with me, because a lot of people say, like, you're an engineer, why would you throw this opportunity to do something that is not non-engineering in some ways? And my company at that time was the superstars were engineers, because it's an engineering company. So
oh,
so he said, are you willing to step away from the limelight to do something that is most companies call it support, which is true. HR, we are a support department. We support you. So it took me a long while to really think about it and to reflect about myself. Then I realized that I really enjoy working with people. So I decided to take a step of faith and then went to it. And it's been 9 years, close to 10 years now. And still enjoying it. At least even after that, I can honestly say that after 20 years from now, I will still enjoy being a HR professional rather than an engineer. So yeah, that's how it all started.
oh, oh, so it's like
Yeah, yeah. Really glad
very,
that that step of faith is Like that step of faith turned out to be the best leap you ever did, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I have seen engineers who, you know, after a while, they do take a step of faith of doing something different. But after a few years, they decide that, nah, I think I want to go back to engineering. So they go back to engineering as well. So, I from this, I learned that nothing is set in stone, and nothing is a dead end. So even if you decide to choose something that is a risk in the first place, yeah, it's not set in stone that you will forever be this. You can never go back to engineering. I just feel that it's not something set in stone, and it's not a dead end. Yeah. Yeah. So I think you have to give, especially for all those who are graduating, or yeah, you are young and everything. It's always good to explore and be able to just try new things. Of course, don't try too long. Yeah, because by the time you would need to tell yourself what is it that you really want, because you need to ask yourself then. And yeah, for me at least, it came a little bit early in my career. Maybe I was very lucky because I happened to do a project, and then that sparked an interest, and then that kind of moved me into that area. And yeah, and I'm just lucky to have met the right people at the right time. And then yeah, and lucky enough to ask the question, do I see myself as an engineer 20 years from now? You know, yeah. So that's I think that's a good reflection question for many people to ask. Will you see yourself as an engineer after 20 years? Yeah.
Very interesting story. Thank you for sharing. Ivan? Uh, Ivan?
Hi, yes.
Yeah, so just now we were talking, like Aaron was sharing his story about how he actually jumped from engineering to HR. So do you mind sharing us your story? Like how do you go into your current job?
Sure, hold on, yeah. Give me a moment. All right,
Okay,
so
sure.
I will put it into a push and pull factor. Okay, I think the first I will come from a point of push factor first. So the push factor was, sorry to say, the course itself. I really didn't enjoy the course. Okay, and secondly was also the because also the experience that I had working in an engineering, because you know our for our course we need to do the vacation training, right? So from there I went on and do a vacation training, and I really didn't enjoy it. So and then there's the two things. That's a push factor. As for the pull factor, was more like, first thing first was the internship opportunity that I managed to get at CIMB, EY, and also BCG. Okay, BCG is business a Boston Consulting Group. EY as I was doing the risk assurance, and then CIMB I was doing something else. I can't recall what was that particularly. Yeah, it was quite some time. My apologies. Another thing that I was looking at is the competitions that I've joined. For instance, like you have mentioned earlier, the Unilever program, the Unilever UFLP, and then also HSBC, and also HSBC the Challenge, and MPPC, Malaysian Public Policy Competition, and a few more others. Definitely, I couldn't recall the back of my mind because it's been quite some time ago. So yeah, that was all the experience, and then also one of the organization that I joined, ICMS, International Council of Malaysian Scholars and Associates. There I met many people from various backgrounds, and there's one of the pull factor that why I got pulled out from the engineering field lah. So yeah, so I weigh in terms of push and pull, push and pull. Sorry. So yeah.
Oh, so for the internship, do you purposely find those job, or you got into those internship by chance?
By chance, actually, the HR was kind enough to
Oh,
offer me the role.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
because
So that's why. That's what happened.
very interesting.
Yes, yes. So I think overall, to answer this question as a whole, I think it's very important to weigh your push and pull, and I think yeah, you need to understand your appetite of leaping out of your comfort zone, and my appetite of leaping out of a comfort zone was very high. And when I did all these engineering stuff, I mean non-engineering stuff, I was very, very comfortable. And so yeah, that's how I ended up in a non-engineering field. Yep.
Ah,
But just a quick question though, like when you guys had the chance to leap out from your comfort zone, did you have that hesitation? Because what I think like most of us are stopping us from doing that, right, is that moment of hesitation that prevents us from doing what you guys have done. Like, how did you manage to overcome that hesitation?
Okay. Good question. Hesitation is definitely a thing in whatever we are doing, because most because when we will hesitate when we're getting out of comfort zone. I think the first thing first is the connection, the social network. So to be frank with you, my social network mostly make up of non-engineering students. Okay, so that was my first how I get to assimilate into the non-engineering world. Secondly is have conversations with people across different fields of study. Understand that, all right. Understand what do they do, what have they experienced and all. And last but not least, the most important thing of all, you need to understand yourself. And when I say understand yourself, not I'm not saying by where you're born and all, but more like who are you as a person? What drives you up and what drives you down in life? And with that being said, coming from the perspective of individual, the society and also the experience, when you combine all these three factors like connecting the dots, you'll be able to make a very sound decision. And I would say definitely a leap of faith. I'm not a religious person, to be frank. A bit of faith and a bit of prayers when you needed it. Okay, so yeah, just pray to God and like God just bless me in this. Yeah, so I would say all this is a mix of luck, faith, and where life brings you to be frank with you. Yeah, so that's about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very interesting insight, especially like pray to God, because I think most of most of us feel that like can relate to that. How about you, Aaron? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
did you have that moment of hesitation?
Oh, of course. I think especially when I start to explore this with my parents, and my parents say, "Hey, you spent 6 years in university. You already got a master's. Do you really want to do this? I thought engineering was what you wanted to do. You die also wanted to do
I
engineering."
bet my parents will ask me the same question before.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I think Asian families, like my family, quite typical Asian family. Most of my cousins are engineers, so it was a bit, it's very difficult to then tell myself that would I be seen differently by my family members, etc., etc. Of course, there were hesitation, yeah. So I agree what Ivan said just now about knowing what you want, knowing about yourself, who you are as a person, and knowing what gives you motivation, what will help you thrive. Because sometimes it's not, some people they thrive in a very technical background. Some people just love being engineers. They like the challenge of it. Some, just like myself, I like when it comes to working with people. So that gave me a lot of satisfaction, helping people to grow. So that really underscore me as a person, because in school and also in university, I joined a lot of societies. But yeah, like what Ivan said, know what type of societies you join, and you realize that, oh yeah, I used to do a lot of these things, and it all deals with people. And I realized that, okay, I really enjoy this a lot. So therefore, you need to know what motivates you and who you are as a person. And with a little bit of faith, pray hard, and just jump into it lah. Yeah.
I think this applies to all fields,
Yeah.
not just engineering.
Yeah.
Knowing
Because I
yourself.
remembered one person's, there was a mentor of mine who said this: do you want, there's some things, some choices in life, right? You don't want at the end, after 3 years, 4 years, I should have made that choice. That kind of feeling, so he says that if you want, try not to have that so much of that, I should have done that, I should have done this. And some things that when it comes, you just have to do it first and explore. at least you have done it. What's the even my HR director was saying, what's the worst that can happen after 1 year? If you don't enjoy this, you just go back to engineering. As I said, it's not a dead end. It's never cast in stone. So you just have to sometimes just step out your comfort zone for a while and to see if really you really cannot handle it, then just move back to what you were doing.
Yeah, you can
But as
always
long as you
fall
love to
back.
explore.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll ask the next question. So it's a little bit more to do with engineering degree. Like, how do you think your engineering degree has helped you in your current career? Like, what are the benefits and losses from studying an engineering degree but working in a different field as what you guys are doing right now? Maybe we start with Aaron.
Okay. I any losses? I don't think any losses but any chemical engineers out there will know that I don't do mass transfer or energy transfer or fluid flow at this moment in my career. But I think the one thing which I take with me is, as an engineer, right, you actually look at processes a lot, and you look at optimizing and how do you find a a good way for people to do things more effectively. So like, for example, I also enjoy a lot of looking at policies and procedures and to question, why is it done this way? Engineers always question why. That's how you have first principles, right? You ask yourself why is it this happening that way? And so I find myself asking a lot of these questions, and I become more of the person who start to question status quos, like more like, why is this done this way? Why is this policy written this way? Or so that helps my bosses to realize that, okay, our policies are maybe a little bit too old-fashioned, need to update because of certain things that's happening. So that's for me is one of the things that has continued to stay with me in terms of my engineering skills. The questioning why you want to do this, why you want to do that. Because if it's, I don't know, maybe we are
We are
what's the
born to
word?
be
We
curious.
are born to be curious. Maybe more of, I think we are taught to not take everything status quo.
I
True,
agree on
true.
that. Yes, that's really.
How about you, Ivan? Like, what do you think your engineering degree, especially a Monash engineering degree, I think most of us will be curious about that. Like, how has your engineering degree helped you in this business consultation career that you are in right now?
Okay. I think first things first is, I would say, how we are trained to think technically. I mean, not say technically, but in a process flow. Allow me to begin with. I think we always start off a problem. Science students in general. I wouldn't say engineering student that background. I will begin off with, as a science student, I mean, we start off with a problem statement. And what's the hypothesis? So it has allowed me to always come to whatever angle, whatever problem, whatever industry that I'm in, there will always be a problem statement. And so what is the problem statement? What is the elephant that we are trying to move in the room, in this house? Okay? And hence, with that being said, there's the technical, the process flow. And secondly, I think, personally, I'm a very sociable person, and I like to speak with people. And then with the science background, it has allowed me to curate, process, and understand, not curate people's, when I walk through with people, like interview with people, I'm able to curate processes and information into a process flow. And then when it is a process flow, I need to understand sub-processes. Because in every process, there are sub-processes. And then what is the byproduct? So this engineering background has allowed me to do so. And I think losses-wise, I wouldn't say any loss lah. Because to be frank with y'all, I work with business students, right? I think the most important thing is, personally, are you able to absorb things quickly? Are you able to unlearn what you have learned? And are you able to argue your points through? When I say argue, I don't mean that you need to have a strong, heated debate or you people must agree with you entirely. A debate and a discussion is to are able to understand where you are at fault at, not to say not at fault, where your gaps, your potential gaps, and then you need to join with other people's people's knowledge. So I think overall, yeah, that's what I could share at the moment. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's quite an interesting. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
chipping in, I saw this comment from YouTube. A cartoon commented, "Hi Aaron, your junior here. You know him? Cartoon, the
Uh,
cartoon,
sorry, his name?
cartoon.
Cartoon. Civil
He just
engineering.
saying, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's
yes,
saying
yes.
hi.
Yeah. Mm. Yes, we are supposed to have lunch. We've been saying that for a long time, but we haven't got the
Oh,
opportunity
Oh.
to. Yeah.
sorry, Jashin, you can
Oh
continue
no.
now.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to add something. What I just thought of something as well. I think as engineers, right, we are always seen as problem solvers. So,
Mm,
as engineers, we always find when there's a problem statement, we will find a solution to that problem. And we are always taught to find more than one solution. If this doesn't work, then you look at another angle and right? I think that also helps when it comes to if you are doing other sort of anything that you're doing lah. Yeah. So like even for myself, as a HR person, I will always try to think what other solutions if given this type of box that I'm given. Because in HR, everything is about policies and procedures, rules and regulations. So there are certain things that we really cannot break. But we will think of ways of there's this problem. Let's look at a solution that will help solve this problem without breaking any rules, without breaking any procedures. So again, that one is I think that really helps when you're an engineer, because I do notice that people who didn't graduate in engineering degrees tend to just say, oh yeah, that's it. No, like no, that's the no, we can't do that anymore. We can't do that anymore. But I've realized that as an engineer, we will start to ask questions. What else can we do? Yeah,
yeah.
or why we want to do this, but or what else can we do? So I feel that is a plus point for us engineers. Yeah.
So it's like the mindset is the really key thing for you guys, right? Like the mindset that you inherited through your 4 years in engineering. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, critical thinking, problem
yeah.
solving.
I think problem solving, knowing, asking why lah, why this problem. When you know the problem statement, then everything else fall into place. Yeah, because then you will know that which angle you want to look from, and how you're going to solve this problem using the assumptions that you have, or using the what's the word, the limitations that you have with you.
Oh, okay.
Also, I'm curious whether when you because the field that you both of you jump into is actually not really related to engineering. But is there any knowledge that you manage to will help you in learning the new field? It like yeah, like the engineering anything from engineering that help you to learn knowledge from the new field faster or more efficiently. Maybe Ivan.
Um, Knowledge wise, um, I think I've mentioned it earlier. Like I mentioned earlier, the process flow, understanding process flow. Because I mean, I'm not sure about other engineering. I believe it's the same. But for chemical engineers, we have a lot of these process flows. You know, understanding the variables, what are the potential elements that comes into play at each stage of life or anything. So I think all in all, I think I would say the thought process. If you say knowledge wise, sorry to say there's nothing much, but it's the thought process, I would say.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that's
agree
all
with
for me.
Ivan. Yeah, I agree with Ivan. I don't think there is there's a knowledge that has helped me to learn HR. Uh,
Oh, because we do take some business unit, right? I'm not really sure whether it still applies in your field.
Or I don't maybe I was thinking memorizing facts that's for exams. Maybe that has helped.
Yeah, I'm taking an econs unit right now, and I kind of relate to that. Like we are just
Uh,
remembering stuff at the moment.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
actually it is
Just,
true. Like, cause I'm taking a business unit now. I don't really understand what's happening other than memorizing how to solve all this. Yes, I do really relate what you mentioned.
okay, I'll ask a question that hits a little bit closer to home. So like for both of you guys, right, are career transitions well received by by employers in general? Like, do they perceive it as though like that individual is unsure about his or her future, which may affect their decision in hiring them? How about what are your opinions about this? Maybe we can start with Aaron.
not really. I think my CV becomes an interesting topic for some employers because they will see, oh, this guy has an engineering degree, and oh, he did his masters in engineering, but he's doing HR. So that always comes out in my interviews sometimes.
Also, you
You
need to
know
repeat
what?
the story
So
you
it becomes
mentioned.
a I don't know, a good talking point to why you
Oh,
move from engineering to HR. So that happens. As a HR person myself, perhaps I'm one of those who believe in people understanding what they want to do. What they how can they grow in their careers. So I've always believed in people or in understanding what their career development should look like for the future. So if I look at a CV and I see, oh, this person is an engineer but decide to do, let's say, business or decides to do something else, that for me is uh, to me it's a plus point lah. I will always say that it's a plus point. Yeah. But that's me. I know that there are some companies whose HR may not see this the same thought as I am lah. But I think we are in a in an environment where you are not everything is totally different. So you can actually be doing engineering, but you can be doing something else. Or someone like Ivan said, someone with a music degree doing something that he's doing. So I think we have come to a point where this line of when you study this, therefore you have to do that is now becoming thinner and thinner. And I think most HR practitioners also recognizes that. So they're not going to really say that, oh, you're not sure about yourself, therefore you move. Unless, of course, when they look at your CV and you are jumping from different
Or keep
uh,
jumping,
yeah.
like
keep
maybe
jumping
2 years
like
into banking.
today you say I'm a chef, then tomorrow I'm doing this, and the next day you are doing that, and I think that's where I will look at your CV and ask, yeah, I don't think this person knows what he or she wants yet.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's okay if you have that switch in career. But if your switch in career seems to be very fast, and after a year you decide to change again and move to different type of backgrounds or different type of not industry but backgrounds that you want to do from HR, then you move to finance and you move to this, and yeah, and for me, I will take it as a red flag and to bring it up and say, do you really know what you really want? Yeah.
mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it really depends on whether you can persuade the hiring person that you are really into this new field.
Yes. So I think, yeah, you must know. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, again, that reflection of yourself. Do you know what you really want in your life, in your career? Or not? What do you see? What is success to you?
Mm,
Or what are you very more comfortable with, lah? Yeah, because there's no point you are trying to changing so many times, and then you're just you're telling yourself I'm finding myself, but you're not sitting down to reflect what you really want in your life. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's an interesting insight. How about you, Ivan? Have you faced like difficulties in this specific area? Like, maybe your employer has asked you like why the sudden change in your career pathway. Have you ever experienced this kind of situation before?
Yes, definitely there is. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
yes.
Okay. With that being said, definitely there is. They will always ask what is the motivation behind your change, and that's where I have mentioned earlier is the pull and push factor. I will discuss with the my hiring partner, my hiring manager. And one of the things that during the interview I still remember vividly when I joined PwC, and I still remember I spoke with the partner, okay, and he asked me, okay, I understand your push and pull factor. So personally, you as an individual, why did it motivate you to change? And I said, personally, I'm a person that okay. He asked me, what do I do during my free time? And I said, I like to play poker and I like to play board games. Yeah, during my hiring process, I answered that. And they were
Really?
like, yes. And he was like, you are sharing with me a very interesting personal experience. So go on. I say poker is not about winning money or losing money. It's more about understanding people's behavior, people's body language, and understanding the probability of you winning that hand and how to push away. How do you manipulate the whole table? So that was like the personality that would assimilate into the career because my career requires me to understand people's body language, how the tone, what they are, everything. You need to understand from head to tail, the voice of the tone, voice and everything.
Yeah.
And then the board games, he was like asking, oh, board games, what sort of board games? And I said, no, we don't speak about Monopoly and Snake and those kind of thing, okay? Not chess. But if you all know, it's the SS15 Meeples Cafe, the European board game place, and I spent a lot of my time there. And he was like asking, okay, fine. Why? And I was like, thinking, oh, because I like to do strategic thinking. It's about being co-op or against the board or against the people or other players. And I was like, oh, fine, interesting. You spend your time about all the strategic thinking, and I said, yeah. And
That's a
yeah,
very clever way of answering that question.
yeah. And then he also asked me like, um, why board games? I'm like, oh, it allows me to socialize. And with that being said, my time is very important. So I do not waste my time to do empty talks. And I use it to strategic thinking and all. I was like, oh, interesting. So yeah, I think it's the way I narrate the story. So it wasn't a difficult thing for me to tackle that question, why you change the career. So yeah. So with that being said, is of course like my personal personality and also with the experience and with the leap of faith. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. All right, all right. Okay, one last question before we have a short 5 minute break. Can you guys like share your experience on how to stand out from others with related degrees? So, for example, like Aaron, you are with an engineering degree, but you are competing against like other graduates with related degrees. Like, how did you make yourself stand out from the rest?
Okay, maybe I'll answer that question first.
Mm.
Okay. First thing first is I will I will bucket into 3 points. The first point is under the industry. The first key point is industry. Understand, I mean, industry slash career that you're applying for. Understand what do they need in terms of as an individual, your experience, and how with this being said, you'll be able to narrate a story and be able to fit into the industry. Bear in mind, everyone comes in as a blank piece of A4 paper. No one is a, I do not believe anyone has a cutting edge in terms of the knowledge unless you have working experience, but that's a different story because there's a high experience higher kind of process and we are talking in terms of fresh graduate. So I think that's the first point, industry. And secondly, understanding yourself. Like as I mentioned earlier, you need to understand who you are. And with that being said, what are the 3 words that you would want people to describe you? Okay, so with that, when let's say I ask my friends about myself, Ivan, ask them about 3 words that comes into your mind. What are the 3 words that will describe Ivan? And those 3 words, how will it jive with the industry? My first key point. And thirdly is where you're on the spot. on the spot, which is the interviewer. You need to understand who is the interviewer. What can you do? First, maybe do some LinkedIn research. Secondly, Google this person. He or she may have given some talks in public or anything. So when I say interviewer, there's a background check, and also at the point itself, you need to be able to relate this with that person. You need to be able to share a story with this person. Why you do this? Like for instance, some people may have shared, hey, I remember with my interviewer, I talked about Sherlock. I watched Sherlock on Netflix, and then you're like, oh yeah, that guy was like, oh, I also watched Sherlock. Why? So yeah, these are the three key points that I will say lah. Okay, that's all from me.
Very insightful and very
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like something general that it can be implemented right away. That's a very nice point.
For me, I think my experience a little bit different because I joined the organization as an engineer. So there was nobody to compete in that sense, going into the company as an engineer. However, of course, I must thank my HR director. I always go back to him because he took a chance by saying that, okay, looks like this guy wants to explore. Okay, let's take him in. Yeah, and I think a few years later, when I did ask him, I said, why did you agree, or why did you say that, come on, let's take you into HR, although you know that I do not know basic HR in that sense at that time. And only to realize that he himself was a physics graduate. And
Oh.
he himself was a physics graduate, and he noticed that there are certain qualities that are similar about how we think, and therefore he already knew that you are able to thrive in a HR environment.
There's
So
always a Chinese saying that you need the right person to get the right talent.
yeah, so it was again, it was the right person at the right time, and it was just the right timing. The timing was right at that moment. So he was willing to take the chance because he said that I've seen some of your qualities that I know that a physics graduate or an engineer would have and bring to the table as a HR person. So yeah, so that was neat. So like, oh, now I know you're a physics graduate. So that became a good anchor together lah. Yeah. So like if I'm an engineer, and if I do end up interview, case in point, there's somebody that I in my previous company, he's a scholar, and he was also, but I remembered interviewing him, and I remembered the few times that I bumped into him. I felt in my heart that this person will not be an engineer. He was studying the engineer.
You can see his traits.
Yeah, the same traits, and so after that, now that he has graduated, and actually one of the things I challenged him, I said, why not you do your internship in HR for 1 year and see what it does for you. And I remember him telling me that it was a good experience, and I said that if in the future, and of course in the end he still want to practice engineering a bit, because he said, I studied so long already, I should practice for a bit. Yeah, but I did say that if HR is not for you, if engineering is not for you, go into HR, because I see that in you. And don't know whether he's listening in or not, but anyway, I don't know. But at least I know that I know that how my HR director saw me, I understood what he saw, and I could also see it in people as well.
It's like you're passing on the baton to your successor or anything. Yeah.
Correct. And I mean, and it's also based on, when you work with scholars, like I used to work with scholars because my company used to give scholarship, and when they join activities, right, you can actually have a gauge of what type of people that they will end up. So when you see them joining things to do with entrepreneurship, to talk about business development, etc., then you will know that maybe engineering will be very stifling for them. very technical. So they may just end up taking more entrepreneurial type of businesses. They can actually they can thrive even better in business development, in those fields. Or if you see somebody that I know who always join activities that are very, like for example, the electronic cars. In chemical engineering, we have this chemical contest.
Oh yes, yes,
Chemical
chemical.
contest. Then you will notice that perhaps these people will definitely be more interested in technical, because they are, they get more motivation in this type of thing. So based on what you see, based on what society you join, on what activities you join, right, you will roughly know what is it that you're having interest in already. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right.
I
Quite
really,
agree.
yeah, I really can connect what you're saying. It is true that you can see how where a person will go through the activities he or she joined during university. Uh, anyway, we have discussed quite a lot, and I think it's a good idea to have a short break before we continue on our discussion. Yeah,
Sure,
so
sure.
we'll go into a 5 minute break, and Roy will show the QR code for the lucky draw. And then for the audience, if you want to get the lucky draw, you can scan the QR code. Yeah, so pass to you, Roy. Okay, so yeah, we are back after the short break. So the next subtopic is actually about comparative jobs. So we received questions from students asking, um, do you think in a real working environment it will be quite competitive, especially for to get high position? So if we want to pursue those high position, does the type of degree matter or something else matter more? So maybe Ivan go first.
Okay. Can you hear me? All right. Can you guys
Yes.
hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I think first thing first is I don't think start don't okay. All right. It's fine to aim for the high end, but I always feel that understand what you want in short term first. The low lying fruit. In today's world, there are so many opportunities out there. And I think you need to have a short, medium, and long term goal. And having long term goal is good if you really get it. But if you do not have it, it's okay. Always start out with short and medium. And I think a degree or what the degree doesn't really count, doesn't matter at the beginning, because as your career progresses, I believe that you may need different set of skills. For instances, you may need a
Yes.
different set, you may need a different master. You may not even necessarily do a master, but you need a professional paper. So I think that, in my opinion, after your degree, do or even before a degree, before you graduate, when you are still undergrad, do go out and explore the opportunities out there. Okay, then only start to curate, start to plan your future. Get 1 or 2 years of working experience. See what you want.
Mm.
To be frank with everyone here, I myself, in PwC, I think this is my third job. I started with Unilever, then a startup, and then BCG. This was my fourth job per se, I would say. Then only I realized this is what I want. After we realize what you want, then going to go ahead and um, plan out what do you need to do. So yeah, that's my
Ah,
opinion. If
so
you know of
settle down on something you like, then only climb higher.
yes, I will say that.
Ah,
Yeah, that's my opinion.
that's a very sweet answer. How about Aaron? Do you have anything to add on?
I think you have to ask yourself what does high position means lah. Like for example, do you mean the CEO or the
I'm guessing this student is asking managerial role.
okay, I
So
think yeah, managers are okay. Then it's slightly different because even as an engineer, you still can become a manager. Yeah, so a manager means you manage a group of engineers or you manage your department in certain ways. Of course, when you are going up the ladder in that sense to become a manager, then your managerial skills comes into play. So it's no more just your technical skills. You need to be technically sound, very good foundation, but your managerial skills will need to be built as well, and that needs to come up very strongly as you climb up in any corporate ladder. And even if you decide to move even further up in terms of becoming the CEO in the future, then other needs will be other types of skills will be needed. For example, business skills. So understanding business, understanding, having business acumen, I call it, and that's where you would need to then depends on what skills you are lacking at lah. So some people will say, oh, then you need to take an MBA. I think
mm,
you need to know what is it that you want. Again, we go back to what is it that you want. So if you want to be the CEO of a company, then taking an MBA can be helpful because it will give you an additional skills and competencies to yourself. I myself did not take an MBA, but I took a master's in psychology because I knew that I'm not going to, I don't intend to be a CEO. I don't
mm,
intend to wanting to become the business owner of that company. I would rather I just I love working people. So CHRO is definitely what I aspire to be. So it's not so I don't really need to have an MBA degree in that sense. Enough for me to equip myself to move forward or go up the ladder. Yeah. So then yeah, that's what I what Ivan said. Like you must know where you're heading to, and then you need add the skills as you create what you want to do. Because if you're just taking for this, some people take MBA for the sake of I need an MBA to, and then when you ask why, I think an MBA will give me higher salary, then I feel like that's the wrong
Yeah,
That's
the
so
reason.
wrong
true.
pathway.
I
Yeah.
heard a lot about that.
The wrong reason of taking MBA. For
Yeah.
me, at least you must understand why you want to take MBA for. A lot of people who take MBA is because they want to understand the business. They want to, they want to be better managers. They want to be better CEOs or C-suite people because they need to see the business. They need to understand the business. So yeah, so I think at the end of the day is it's more than just your technical skills. So like what I think what the person is asking, yes, you still need your technical skills. If you want to be a manager of a department full of engineers, you need to show your manager, you need to show your technical skills is sound first. And then only you bring in your managerial skills into play. But as you go up into, if you want to talk about the business, then perhaps the technical skills may not be not too important, maybe 30% of it, but the rest will be then on business acumen and how visionary you are, what type of person that you are. And that will then they will think about what other competencies or skills that you need from to reach that, your gap.
So it's like it's not everything will be taught in your degree, but you need to learn as you go. Actually, I really agree on what Aaron said. A lot of people do without knowing what's the reason of doing. Even like for this pursuing high position, I know a lot of people actually is going for the salary, instead of actually going for what they like. So I really agree on what you say. Yeah. So, Jia Chen, you have
Yeah.
a question, right?
Aaron, you mentioned something about you did masters in psychology, right? So like I have a similar question directed towards Ivan. Like, Ivan, can you elaborate some of your experiences in equipping yourself with the necessary skills needed for your current career?
Okay, so the thing is, besides the thought process, I think it's also understanding um, the world in general. So with that being said, I tend to read news globally, for instances, and I mean news be it in terms of economics, environmental, even LGBT, and even environment, even football, sports, F1. So with that being said, I think I'm coming from the angle of source, the knowledge. So why knowledge is important is because you need to be able to hold a conversation with people. So for starters, what people can do is sign up for BBC, Reuters, CNN, the daily 5 updates, Bloomberg, and
Yeah.
also Singapore, the Singapore Straits Times. So what and with that is this is to able to hold conversation and also to know to put yourself as a global citizen, literally a global citizen. I do not expect you to know literally everything, but you'll be able to give inputs and participate in the conversation. And that's where the flow comes into, then the flow
Yeah.
goes from there. And then
So
with
Um,
regards to knowledge of professional paper, I'm next, maybe hopefully by this year or maybe next year, I will be doing CIA, not Central Intelligence Agency, guys. Okay, not from spying. I'm planning to do CIA, whereby it's called Certified Internal Auditors. Okay, so I'll
oh,
be doing
okay.
CIA, and then that's one thing. And moving forward, whether will I be doing an MBA or CFA, I think let's see where life brings me to. I think most important is to get my base right. So I have the soft
Yeah.
skills, and I now need the recognition, the certification to see where it brings
mm,
me to.
Yeah.
I think I definitely have my career planning progression for the next maybe 2 to 3 years. I think there's a bit I'm afraid my boss may be hearing here or not lah, just joking, okay? But I think there's a more personal thing. I would be happy to have a conversation with people who wish to know, but I may not want to share it openly here because yeah, I do not cannot see the crowd, Yeah, so that's all for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Uh, okay,
yeah,
Siwan.
actually, I want to add on a short question for Aaron because you mentioned about taking master for psychology, right? Do you take the master part time or do you stop working for a while and take a full time master? Just personal curiosity.
Oh, I took a part time. I didn't go full time for it. Part time.
Is it hard, like managing working and studying the same time?
Yes, it is challenging lah. It is challenging. Because you need to prepare yourself mentally because my classes were Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday mornings. So the classes are alright, but when it came to assignments, right, then it's like going back to uni life in that sense. You're doing assignments at 11 p.m. starting from 11 p.m. to
Oh,
burning the midnight oil, and
oh
then
no.
2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then the next morning still waking up to go to work and everything. So yeah, so it was a challenge. It definitely will challenge those who want to do part-time. Because I can't say that it's the easiest route, it will be easy for you, but it will definitely be very challenging because you have to think about your work and studies at the same time. But it was very rewarding because I met a very good I've met good lecturers and also met a batch of classmates that we are still friends, and most of them are also in HR, and we were able to just share knowledge and to understand what different companies were doing, industry wise. So that to me is the plus point of doing a degree, doing an additional degree or master's. When you meet people from different industries, and then you compare notes and you start to learn from them as well. And that's where your networking starts as well. So like that, oh, I know this person working for this company, I know that person working for that company. So you can just have a call and say, hey, our company is going through this thing. What is your company doing? For example, during the COVID-19, the whole MCO and RMCO, CMCO, there were many things that were very new for organizations. It wasn't something that was cast in stone before, So so we have to ask a lot of our our colleagues from other places, and to just ask our counterparts here and there, what is your company doing? What is your company doing? What is your company doing? But that comes because I networked during my studies. So that is a plus point of taking part-time sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because imagining working and studying itself without actually doing it, just imagining it is already very tough.
I have friends who did it part-time, and yet they have a new family that time, either a toddler or 1 year old, 2 year old. That's
Respect.
that's
More
like
stressful.
next level, next
Oh my
level
god.
challenge already. So
Oh.
so that can happen. But I guess you have to weigh in all these challenges before you decide that I'm going to do my master's, I'm going to do this. And if you're for example, my wife was very much supportive. That time only both of us, so she was supportive. Okay, go ahead. I have my friends who say, "Oh, my husband is okay about it. He will take care of our kids when I'm away for classes." But
That's
assignments.
so
So
sweet.
those kind of things that you all have to agree as a couple or anything lah. Okay. But I think that one's different story lah. Just that. So I think when it comes to part-time studying, these are things that you need to start weighing in lah.
Yeah, true. Sorry to cut you off, Jiachen. You
It's
can
okay.
continue on.
Since we reached the topic of networking, right? Like, what jobs would you recommend for an engineering student that may want to go into maybe branch out? Like, what can they try during their internships or part time or even during their semester breaks? Maybe we can start off with Ivan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep. Yes.
There is no definite answer to this. My answer to you is understanding yourself and what do you want to do.
Right. I mean, like,
so many jobs out there.
like what can they? How to say? Like, since you join like competitions, right? Competitions such as the Maybank competitions and so on and so forth. Like, how can they get to know these competitions? Like, which kind of pathways they can go through to get to know these kinds of competitions?
Make friends with business school students.
To
Oh,
get to
Business
know
school
more
students
business
and
school students.
and also
okay.
I think I was part of Musa. I actually ran an election back in 2014, and I ran for Musa presidency. I
Oh,
think
okay.
that was
Oh,
one of the ways that you can, by joining Musa, is one of the way definitely. Yeah, I ran for the presidency that time, and yeah, I won. And that's where you put yourself in a very can be famous and infamous spot. I'll be very honest with you. Yeah, I would say put yourself out there. Make it.
oh,
If you want to be very honest, it would be put yourself out there. Make it. Why of all people I must pick someone? Why should I pick you? Why should I make you to be part of my team? Always remember that as an engineering student, people are like, yeah, these fellas all very engineering dry, very dry on. Like they study things all very dry, very technical. They are not
but that's
they are
a
not able to absorb on the word. They only read by notes, by technicality, by Googling, by YouTubing, very technical stuff. But you need to proof to that I can
You're not
do
just that.
yeah.
Mm.
beyond what the E equals to MC squared, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That is all from me.
Okay. How about you, Aaron? Like, what would you? Because you said you dealt with human resources, so like maybe you have some kind of advice for engineers that want to divert, right? Like, what would you? What? How would you advise engineering students that want to divert now?
Now, okay lah.
I mean,
Maybe I would actually encourage university students to don't just don't just study lah. Don't just be a bookworm and I think it's good to join clubs and societies and be involved in your whatever clubs and societies that you have in your university, because that helps when it comes to networking. Number one, you get to meet people. Maybe you will get to meet people from different faculties and different backgrounds, and you're actually able to get to ask them, hey, what do you actually study? And you may end up studying together in the library. Then you'll be asking, hey, what subject you are taking now, and this and that. That can happen. So I think it's important to be active in campus. Of course, make sure you study lah. I mean, not that being said, make sure your grades are okay. But yeah, so I think being involved in any extracurricular activities helps to what's the word? Helps you to become to understand more of yourself. And when you become more aware of yourself, right, then you actually understand that, oh, this is maybe engineering is not for me. I feel like doing this more and everything. Yeah, just like how as I said, when I meet with scholars and when I see them, then they join very entrepreneurial type of societies. They go for contests, competitions, and then I will ask them, would you like to take up a business development role rather than a engineering role? And they say yes, because they already know what they want in university because they go through all these experiences. So it's always good to have this type of in some ways a good opportunity, and join societies, engineering club and societies, because it really helps to for you to build some self-awareness of yourself lah. I would also suggest, I think many companies right now have management training programs, associate programs, management training programs. And there's always this promise of being rotated to different departments for you to have a feel. I think sometimes those programs works because if you are not sure yourself, going through that program, even if it's 2 years, you are being rotated to different type of different departments, not necessarily an engineering department. Then you kind of get a feel of which every some, like for example, today you're in marketing, then 4 months down the road you're in HR, 4 months down the road you are in business development, 4 months down the road you're doing this and that, and then you kind of have a touch and go feeling of all those things. Then you will in the end feel like, okay, I think I like marketing more. Then you will maybe end up being in marketing. That being said, right, all these programs, you all need to have a take it with a pinch of salt that you will never become a manager straight away. Yeah, because as I
Very
said,
true.
yeah, a manager, you will need to have a very strong technical base before you become a manager, you know, because if you don't have any technical, how can you lead a group of people who has the same who are technically very strong than you? So you need to be very real to yourself lah, that even though I'm exploring after 2 years, right, then you say I want to do marketing, then you need to tell yourself and be humble enough to say, okay, I'm ready to start from the bottom and work my way up and really learn and learn steep learning curve, and then you just go for it lah. So yeah, so if there's any organization that has this type of programs, I think it's good to enter them and to understand, because they have this program for yourself lah. But just have to remind yourself that you will never you will not become a manager so fast lah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay because you are already understanding yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, actually a lot of I'm not sure whether it's a Monash norm or it's just my batch. Actually, a lot of people is aiming for CGPA 4.0, but and they might have neglected their club and society, their extracurricular activities, and I feel very sad for them. Yeah, yeah, and I hope that they realize that they are as important as results as well. Hopefully they are hearing what you are all are saying and uh, realize that they are on the wrong path.
Maybe you can send this podcast to them after you finish.
Yep.
Um, okay. Actually, we have a few more questions. Okay, so maybe I'll direct this to Ivan first. Okay, so for students that have just joined engineering for less than a year and realize that they don't really fit into the engineering society, what would you actually advise them to do? Would you advise them to change courses or maybe pursue on with engineering degree before they divert? Which will be the better choice for them, in your opinion?
Speak with the um, course course office, or the what do you call it what do you call that word, not I can't not a therapist, what's that word called, I can't think of the word. There's a student support. Yes, maybe it's. I don't know what's. I don't know what. I mean, I've left uni for about a few years already. I'm not certain what things have changed.
Understandable.
Yeah, so try to maybe talk to the student support office or something. Ask them for the career advisor or something. Oh no, education, the course advisor. Yeah, something like those things lah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, how about you, Aaron? Like, what would your advice be to those kinds of students who are kind of like hesitant about continue on with engineering, but maybe may feel pressured into continuing on due to like family pressure and so on and so forth?
Have a frank conversation, frank conversation with yourself. Why did you choose engineering in the first place? Because if you are really struggling and you really feel that I'm not interested in this, I am, I'm not happy, I'm really struggling, then perhaps good to have a frank conversation with with a counselor or with somebody who is a trained not therapist, but trained counselor or trained career coach to help you to have a little discussion on which degree or which field is more suitable for you. Because I think even after your first year, you should be able to change degree, right, or change degree. And also maybe after your first year where everything is more still basic engineering, so at least you have some basic engineering if you want, that's it, engineering maths or engineering this and that, so it's something that is okay enough to keep you, I mean enough for you to just become, oh, this is my experience, and then you can move on to other degrees but don't change degree without really having a frank conversation. Yeah, frank conversation. Someone who is neutral. Of course, like what GQ you mentioned, that if it's family, maybe they're not the right person to have a frank conversation because they may just say, no lah, you're not used to it. So I think it's good to have a frank conversation with a third party, a neutral party, and just to really understand, just sometimes you just need somebody to ask you some good questions to understand, oh, is this what I really want? Yeah. But that, when I mean you're struggling meaning you really have no interest. It's not no interest. It's not laziness, but it's really no interest. There is a big difference, because sometimes some people can be lazy, but they actually can thrive in an engineering degree. But some people who are a bit, who really struggle, they really have no interest, or they really feel like this is not resonating with me. And then I guess it's a good time to really ask yourself, is engineering what I want to do?
Yeah. Is it what you want to go for the remaining of your life?
Yeah, correct.
Yes. Last question for today. It's actually an open question. If let's say you are able to go back to time, knowing that you will go into some new field not related to engineering, would you still go for engineering degree? Given the chance, if let's say reversing the time is possible. Just a fun question to end the podcast. Maybe Aaron first.
I remember my mom asked me this question.
Oh.
Do you regret studying engineering, or did we force you to do engineering? My answer was, I didn't regret what I did. I'm actually quite thankful to be able to have an engineering degree, because it has trained or given me some skills that perhaps I'm not too sure. I didn't take other degrees. Perhaps other degrees may not be able to equip me with certain skills, and like the skills that we were talking about in the earlier
Problem
in the show.
solving, critical
Yeah,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah. So it may be, so I don't regret it now. However, I did say before, if I didn't take up engineering, I would have taken up history, a degree in history instead.
Mm.
So if would I go back and do the same thing again? I would, because I really had a good experience in university lah. Yeah, I definitely had a good experience, and perhaps I'm being biased because maybe I would think that I would have not met the crazy friends that I have right now. So so I guess I would have done it all over again. I don't think I would have regretted it lah. Yeah.
So what you have gone through made you who you are today. How about Ivan?
I think live with no regrets. So I would agree with what Aaron said. I wouldn't change. I would just still do the same. But maybe in between the journey, I may have. Excuse me. Sorry. Maybe I would do better
Bless you.
things. Maybe do things in between better. But the journey overall, live with it. Yeah, that's all I would
Very
say.
heartwarming answer.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. The discussion has lasted for 1.5 hours. It's actually very tiring. And really thank you for answering all of our questions very patiently, and giving us very good advice for life in general. Really thank you. Jachin, do you want to add anything?
Okay. And to our listeners, please be sure to fill in the feedback form for this event, which is in the description below. We will always need your feedback to improve our future events. After all, these events are organized with you in mind. So to end the session, let's just give a virtual
Big
applause to both
applause.
our speakers.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Really
your
thanks.
time. Thank you.
Yeah. Feel free to connect. Feel free to connect me on LinkedIn. I mean, if you
Oh,
guys,
okay.
if Siwan or
Alright.
Jeffron receive any any requests to connect to my LinkedIn, just ask them to feel free to ask them to connect with me, but make sure that they tell where they got my profile from, like from this podcast or something.
Okay.
All right, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
likewise,
you.
No problem.
Okay.
same as well.
Nice meeting you, Aaron.
No problem.
Nice meeting you,
Okay.
Ivan. Yeah.
Yeah, do keep in touch.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Roy, so you will show the QR code on the slide so for the
Yes.
participant to scan for the second lucky
Yeah.
draw.
Okay.